Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om, I bow to the Lord Vasudeva. One further aspect which I want to emphasize in discussing yoga in its context of the Bhagavad Gita is something Krishna himself states at the end. The whole of the last chapter of the Gita is devoted to devotion. After all the rules and the principles of how to raise your consciousness and so on, finally, and it's the first thing and the last thing, is divine love. We must love God. Jesus said it too, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And he didn't create that. He was quoting from the Old Testament. This is a truth in all religions, and it's a truth even in life. If you want something, then want it with all your heart. If you want to accomplish something, put your heart into it. Those people are best at earning money who love money. I don't want to say that because I don't recommend loving money. But if you're going to do something, then put yourself into it. Enjoy it. I have found that I can do a thing well, even if it's not my particular métier, if I put my heart into it. The heart is the aspect of consciousness, which is, it's more the definition of consciousness than even reason and reasoning and intellect and all those things. The two things that need to be used in a positive way are feeling and ego. So if you want to, I told the story earlier in one of these talks about an artist, a well-known artist in Bengal, who came to Master. Master commissioned him to paint a painting of Lahiri Mahashai. And this was a good artist, but he was just a good artist. He wasn't a spiritual person. He didn't capture the spiritual quality of Lahiri Mahashai. And in fact, technique in art is only a part of it. There has to be this understanding. So Yogananda was a little displeased, and he said, how long did it take you to learn your art? Took me 20 years. 20 years to convince yourself you could paint, Master said. Oh, the man was very indignant. He said, oh, I'd like to see you learn to do as well in twice that length of time. Master said, give me a week. And he put himself into the consciousness, first of all, of the artist. And several attempts he made, he had to throw away. But each time he tried, and this is what you should do in your yoga practice too. If you don't succeed, try again, try again. Finally, you'll get it. And once you've gotten it right, it'll come so easily. But to get it right, you've got to put yourself in that bhav, in that state of consciousness. And Master had to get into the state of consciousness of interpreting what you see in paint. Then he put his mind into Lahiri Mahashai and trying to get that consciousness into it. And by the end of a week, he had done a very creditable painting. And he asked this man to come and see. And the man, when he walked in the door, Master was hiding behind a door. And the artist looked and he said, oh, who did that? That's much better than the one I did. Master said, you want to know who? So, of course, the skill has to be there. But even the skill you will get only if you tune into it. Now, I myself just don't really think about money. When I was 16, my father wanted to get me a tuxedo, and I said, don't bother, Dad. I'll never wear it. I never planned to go to posh events and so on. I knew what I was wanting to do with my life. It was to seek truth. And I said, in fact, I will never earn enough money even to pay income tax. And my dad always remembered that later. But I have had, because I've started a community, I've had to think in terms of what will earn money and how can I earn money. And I've had to earn pots of money, all for Ananda, not for me. It was a pain for a while, but I finally realized that it was for God, and therefore it was not binding to me. But if you do a thing, you've got to get into tune with it. And that's what I realized. Anything that you want to do, if you want to be a good artist, mix with artists. Mix with good artists. Don't mix with hippies and bohemian types. Mix with people who know what they're doing. They're in it not for the romance of it, but for the craft of it. And if you want to be a businessman, mix with successful businessmen. If you want to be a devotee, mix with successful devotees. Don't think that you will be a successful devotee mixing only with worldly people. This is why I have created communities where people can come and live and work and support their families, but still live with people who are spiritually inclined, live with people whose magnetism is developing that way. And that magnetism becomes so strong that anybody who comes onto the property where we have these communities feels something. In Italy recently, some few years ago, there was a great earthquake in Foligno. We live near Assisi, not in the direction of Foligno. But people came onto our property somehow knowing that they would be safe. The buildings on our property were not touched. Somehow the divine, it doesn't mean you won't have tests. It doesn't mean that everything will always go right. We had a fire at Ananda that destroyed most of the community. And yet it turned out to be the best thing that could have happened to us, because it freed us from having to have a lot of people who were there as a sort of a joyride. They weren't taking it seriously. Those who stayed and those who came afterwards were more and more those whom we really wanted. But at the same time, I've always, and this is important too, live by those high principles. Understand that you must get in tune with it. When you're in tune with it, you must be in tune with it from the highest point of view, not in tune with how can I cheat people, but how can I be completely, be a man of complete integrity. And so when it was discovered, for example, that fire had been caused by a county vehicle which had a faulty spark arrestor, all our neighbors were very excited. They said, we can sue the county and get all our money back. But I didn't feel it was the right thing to sue. So I wrote the Board of Supervisors and I said, I know you're worried about us and whether we will sue, because we were by far the greatest losers. And I said, we will not sue. And it was very hard for us. We had no insurance, but we came out on top. And that's the point. You may have setbacks. You may have difficulties. The chances are you will have, and you may have great ones. But yata dharma stata jaya, where there is right action, right spiritual action, there is victory. But what yoga teaches is that you must concentrate your mind, and you can only concentrate yourself completely when you do it from the highest point. So whereas it's true that to become a good artist or a good composer or a good anything, you must put your whole concentration there. If you leave God out of the picture, you will not have the full concentration, because there will always be a part of your consciousness that is telling you aspire toward that higher happiness in yourself. The more you live in that, the more you find everything you do successful. People have often wondered how I've been able to accomplish so many things. I don't do it. That's the secret. Michelangelo did do it, and he did probably much better art than I produced. But what I've done inspires, and that I can say. It inspires me, and others say the same. But whatever you do in life, if you keep that higher consciousness there and focus all your energies, and remember, it comes down to refinement of energy and consciousness, much more than outward skill, you'll find everything going well for you. So again, back to this thought, love God above all. In loving Him, His love will flow through you. And as it flows through you, you will be protected and everything will go well for you. In the hard times to come, keep that thought in mind. Joy to you.